welcome to my podcast, The Melancholy Guy Talks. And right now, I'm talking about recovery, living with addiction. In this podcast, I'm sharing my journey through life while being an open, polyamorous African American male living in recovery. I am the Melancholy Guy, Calvin or CPJR if you know me. And today, I definitely believe that change I must or die I will. To learn more about the Melancholy Guy, go to Instagram and click the link in the bio. Also, with a donation of just $1, you can have access to my first series on ethical non monogamy, the fun stuff that started my podcast journey. See my Patreon page for more info, links in the show notes and in the Instagram bio. So let's talk. Today's date is 6/25/2020, and it's been 159 days since I felt the need to pick up my drug of choice. Today's episode is The Relapse. What is it? Episode 62. The show will consist of three segments: the weekly check in, the discussion topic, and Ask an Addict question of the week. That's an Ask a Recovering Addict question of the week. This is the format that I experienced many times. I was in intensive outpatient treatment, so it seems appropriate now as this show is truly an integral part of my recovery process. Welcome or welcome back. Come on in, have a seat, and let's start with the check in. How has your week been? My week has been, I would say my week has been, or I think it's been over a week since I've last podcasted, but my week has been blah. I'm feeling kind of, I would not say I'm feeling kind of complacent, but I'm feeling like I'm in recovery. Now what, I guess, is what I'm feeling. I guess with the, and I'm not sure that's a good place or a bad place to be, but it's just, that's where I honestly am. Of course, I'm busy, still busy at work, still working my program. I guess sort of I think some of what's happening with me is since we've moved and now we're sort of really living in the pandemic lockdown situation, it's maybe taking a toll on me. Really not being able to get out and do much. I'm just kind of like locked in the house, and I work and live in this box, which is fine. I mean, I'm very comfortable, very safe and secure. I must say my recovery is definitely um, doing well, but I can feel the um, just the normalcy. I would say that the normalcy of life is wearing on me just a bit. I guess since if I was to think about where I was last year at this time, if I want to think about where I was last year at this time, I was in the middle of it, in the middle of the worst time of one of the worst times of my life, but one of the worst times in my recent life where I was definitely in the throes of addiction, active addiction, and using was pretty much my life every day, or trying to hustle to use. So now that that part is all over, and I'm basically living, I guess I'm not gonna say the square life, but just living a life that's productive and healthy for me. I need to learn how to, get my interest back, and then that's kind of difficult right now because of pandemic. But we'll see how it goes. I'm never one to sit and I can't really sit and only let things um, go badly for me. I have to really work through the situation and keep my recovery up front. So that's going to be the I guess the work for the next couple of weeks, really, or months. Really, just finding out where I am in life right now. Just figuring out where life is going to be for me and how it's going to look. I'm about to go on my first road trip. Today is Thursday, so tomorrow heading out of town to the Midwest to meet Kim's family, and spend some time with them. She's really excited about it, and I'm excited for her. and just excited. Me, I'm excited to get back out on the road. I do love driving and road trips, so this will be an exciting time. One of my first times doing it, going on a road trip, and I'm in recovery. So that'll be interesting. Being out of town, be interesting for me being out of town completely sober, around, especially around people that do drink. And like I said, I don't begrudge anyone their alcohol or their enjoyment of it. It's just I got not for me. I still can enjoy time by myself. And what's another thing that's really interesting right now though is I'm really finding out. I really am coming to grips with how much of an introvert I actually am. How much I actually do like alone, quiet time. And later for that because I'm just gonna leave it there right now. Like I said, work is good, recovery's good, life is good. I just need to work on some issues that are not issues, but some new the new what is the new normal, right? What's the new normal for recovering addicts who has not lived normal for years? I don't know what normal is. Like I used to scoff at it and laugh at it when I was pretty much drunk every day. That you would just basically just get up and go to work and come home and that's it. That's life. Yeah, for me right now, yeah, that's life. And it's gonna be my life for a minute, for a while, and that's definitely what I want. I guess another thing is like, though I am polyamorous, I am ethical non-monogamous, but just starting to think about dating again and how that's gonna look. And dealing with one thing about if you I'm not just the intersection for me. One thing about ethical monogamy is you deal with a lot of people and a lot of different relationships, and it's just like that's what I'm used to doing, and that's not happening right now. So and it's probably for a good thing right now, because what I've had before is what I don't want. What I do want is open, real connections, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna go and leave it right there and move on to the next segment of the show, and that's gonna be about we're gonna have the discussion topic, right? So the discussion topic for this week is going to be relapse. Like, what is a relapse? And the reason that I'm talking about that is because I remember back in the day when I first started using, when I was using, I remember the first few meetings that I went to used to be a place called Colmac. It was huge meetings back when the crack epidemic first exploded, and it was so many people there, and everybody was talking about relapsing. And it seemed like to me, I was thinking that my thinking used to be that I was just a chronic relapser, that I just couldn't do it. Every time I get paid, I would relapse, or I would basically, after 2 months, I would relapse. I just couldn't get it straight because I kept relapsing, and that's not that's not what a relapse is. I'm gonna read. Of course, I have something to read from. I'm reading from. I'm talking about the web. It's titled "Relapse After Addiction Recovery," and that's good. The reason I use a lot about, and I changed. I want to change the segment of the show to ask a recovering addict, and the reason that I did that is because now I consider myself in recovery. Right, I consider myself in recovery because I've lost the compulsion to use, meaning that I don't have the urge. It's not something that pops up into my head like it used to be. I used to be like, right now it's payday tomorrow. So basically, payday tomorrow will mean I know when the check's gonna hit, and I'm waiting for it to hit. I know exactly what's gonna come. I know exactly where I'm gonna go when it hit. Like, I don't care if the tech check hit at midnight, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I was at the door, heading to the bank to spend that money, because that's just how it was when I was in active addiction. So it's like, and that was I would go 2 weeks saying that I'm never gonna use it again. I would feel terrible, but come time 2 or 3 days before the payday, like it would be like a switch would flick, and I would definitely be heading out the door the moment that check hit. Or if somehow I made it to the next morning, that morning on the way to work, I would definitely find myself heading in the wrong direction, because that's just what addiction is and what it will do to you. Now, it took me a while to understand that that's an active addict, and it took me a while to understand what it is to get into recovery. Now that I am like over 90 days clean, I don't. It's not a day. I don't even think it's about a number of days. It helps to be. The days help, right? I've always kind of understood that, right? The number of days do help determine whether you're going to make it or not, right? The longer you're away from your drug of choice, the better. And I've talked about the dry drunk, but it's also better to be working a program, right? Something that you're doing to come to grips with who you are. Something to that you're doing to get to the real root of the problem of why you're using, right? What is the what's actually going on? Because like I said, for me, I know that my using is just a was just a symptom of my real problem, um, dealing with untalked about needs, unmet needs, not talking about those needs, and current and constantly just hiding any type of pain that I've felt and stuffing things down and not talking about it. Being something just popped in my head I need to talk about, which I will do after this show. So it's like it's important to understand that for me that you know once you get past the using, what's next, right? Because that once you get past the using, right? Once now that the compulsion is gone, now becomes to me seems like the real work. And I always say that I'm constantly as an addict. To me, my analogy or how I actually view recovery is that as an addict, for me for the rest of my life, I'm in a storm, right? I'm in the storm of actual addiction, and the way what I've done is I've gotten into this boat called recovery, and the boat is in the storm, and I have to constantly keep working on keeping this boat afloat, right? Because if this boat sinks, I sink back into addiction, right? So I have to constantly keep bailing out the water, taking care of the cells, doing whatever I got to do to keep this boat ready for the next big wave. Because when that wave hits, if it hits the wrong way, I'm back to where I am. Now, here's the thing about the relapse. I'm going to read about this. I'm going to read a little bit from this article, and I'm going to come back to what I was saying before. But this is from because I want to really delve into or talk about what is a relapse, because I don't think that I think when I hear what I hear from the groups, and like I said before, I'm not an expert, but what I hear from the groups is people saying I keep relapsing. And I don't think you keep relapsing. I don't think that's something that you keep doing, because you don't keep getting into recovery, real recovery, and I'm not no dogmatic type ways. Whatever you call recovery, if you want to call not using for 2 days in recovery, that's up to you. That's interesting. But are you recovering in 2 days? I don't know. For not using for 2 days, you're recovering some money or something, some sleep. But I don't think you're recovering from addiction in 2 days. But once you get into recovery, then the real work starts, right? So I'm gonna read from this article now. It's put simply, a relapse is the worsening of a medical condition that had previously improved. Right? A relapse to addiction is when the person with the past addiction starts doing his or her addictive behavior again after a period of not doing it, known as abstinence. For example, someone who had completely stopped drinking for a period of time, say 6 months, will be experiencing a relapse if they had a single alcoholic drink, as much as if they as much as they went on a drinking binge. For people trying to control their behavior rather than trying to quit entirely, a relapse happens when the individual had got control over the behavior but is re-experiencing a period of uncontrolled behavior. For example, someone trying to control their drinking who had been drinking according to relapse could result in a session of binge drinking. For a shopaholic who's trying to follow a spending plan, a relapse could be going on a shopping spree. So from that, brief little couple of paragraphs that I read, yeah, you can see that it's about the behavior, right? It's not. It's about to me for me, right? It's about the behavior. Like some people talk about the slip, the lapse, or the recovery. Like if you go out and smoke, if your thing is crack, if you go out and smoke, hit a thing of crack, then run back home, and then never smoke crack again, was that a relapse? Or was that a slip? Um, I guess to me it's semantics. I don't really know. I guess the only person really knows if you had a relapse is you. Because to me, it's about the behavior. For me, the behavior of a relapse starts long before the actual picking up the drug or the drink of your drug of choice. Um, like for me, I don't think that I will ever just wake up one day and say, I feel like I'm gonna go, smoke some crack. I'm gonna get on the bus, jump in the car, and just go. You know what I'm saying? Out of the blue. You know what I mean? It's gonna come. I can see. I could feel it now. I could feel it. Or the way that I feel now is, I know. I will know when I'm in the mindset that I'm getting ready to go use. I am going to let some things fester, like resentments build, um, and then put myself in a situation where I always say jackpot, where I jackpot myself and I'm gonna be out using. So that it's gonna come. The behavior is gonna come. You know what I mean? Like right now. Okay, so right now, my behavior is I'm constantly trying to be a better person. Right? I'm trying to be the best employee that I could be, the best friend that I can be, the best partner I can be, the best human that I can be. Right? So that's a everyday type thing, right? That's work every day. And the moment that I stop doing that work is when I feel as though I'm in a relapse situation. Not saying that you can't get tired and take a break from trying to be better or be a better person, be a better partner, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is when it compounds on a daily basis, right? When my old behavior comes back, being the person that I used to be, right? I did not. I used to be such a great person, the great person I am now, the best friend. I used to be a pretty miserable person. I could feel it coming on. I used to be kind of mean at times. Definitely kind of selfish. Um, and just quick tempered because I didn't understand what was going on with me, because I didn't allow myself the space to be me, because I didn't allow myself to be around people that gave me the space to be me. So for me to slip into the old behavior will lead me back down into the relapse. So that's kind of I always say, if you ever are watching or listening to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, wherever, Apple Podcast. If you ever are listening to this podcast and you see me starting to get crazy, like really just not, you can see like right now, I'm not recording every day on Sunday like I used to, right? Because I have to work now. I work now, and I got things in the house to do. About to go on vacation, so I'm gonna miss Sunday this week again. So it's like things. Oh, the house is coming together nice. I mean, the condo. So it's like things are coming up and they're getting in the way of my, everyday program. But that's just life. But I have to keep going as much as, as well as possible. But if you ever see me stop forever, if I all of a sudden came in and said, you know what, I'm not doing this podcast no more. Fuck this. That would be time to worry. That would be time for me to worry, because that would be a big change for me, because I have like, I don't know, I have like 3 shows already ready to go. Not ready to go, but I have ideas to keep going. Like I don't really know how I'm gonna do the topics as I go on, unless I keep talking about what's coming up in my life right now. And right now it's about relapse. I'm not thinking about relapse. I'm just like, I kind of understand it, and after reading it in the groups over and over again, people coming in and saying that I keep relapsing, and I'm like, I only been, I use like every 2 weeks. I'm like, you're not relapsing every 2 weeks. You don't understand what recovery is, and hopefully, I have a good understanding. All right, so I'm gonna read one more paragraph. I think, well, a couple more. I think from the article is how common are relapse to addictive behavior. Now, here's something that we hear a lot. I used to be in the rooms say relapse is a part of recovery. I think, have I been in recovery before? For I don't know how many. I can't really tell you how many years I've been using, but it's been a long time. I think I was in my 20s when I started. I'm in my 50s now, so it's been a long ass time. So, is relapse part of recovery? I think relapse is a part of the recovery industry. I think relapse is a part of what we call. I think relapse is a part of what we call um, uh, addiction treatment. But I think relapse is part of an addict's life, and it's definitely possible. Um, but is it expected? I think I see this a lot of debates too. Is it expected? Are you expected to relapse? And that's something that it all depends on the recovering addict, right? It depends on your program and how much you want it. Did I want it before? Yeah, definitely. There's been times I wanted to be clean, or not. Sorry, want to be in recovery and be like in remission and not suffer all the things that I've suffered through. But I didn't understand what recovery was. Right? I didn't understand about what it was going to take to do recovery. Uh, and the much as I try to think about it, I can't think about. I remember times that I wanted recovery, but I don't think I was willing to do what I needed to do to be recovered. I think I didn't want to leave my comfortable life to really go after recovery, and I think that's the key for me, right? Sometimes you're gonna have to be uncomfortable, and I don't like being uncomfortable. Um, I don't like confrontation. I don't like being uncomfortable. Sometimes I don't speak up for myself, and it's cost me dearly. But I'm understanding. I'm talking to myself right now. By the way, I think that I have to always speak up for myself, even if I'm wrong, so that I can give people a chance to put me straight. Because my thinking, a lot of times, we have a thing that they say in the room, but not we, they say in the room is called thinking. A lot of times, and it's been apparent lately, a lot of times the way I'm thinking is just crazy. Because I don't quite know, I don't quite know how to navigate, I guess, interpersonal relationships as much as I think I do. So a lot of times that what I think is happening isn't happening, and it's best for me just to say, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. I need you to help me out with this because I'm feeling X Y Z, and usually when I'm feeling X Y Z, PDQ get ready to happen, and PDQ is never good. So can you please take some time to help me figure this out? Because I don't know, and that's something that I just never used to do. I used to just come up with my own ideas and just go, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and most of the time I was wrong. Um, so it's like that for me. That's part of my relapse prevention. I need to go ahead and say what's on my mind and get it out there in the open before I fall off into the abyss, fall off the boat of recovery, and be sunk in addiction. So I think that relapse is a part of an addict's life. I think relapse is a part of addiction. I don't want to ever say that relapse is a part of recovery because I want to hope. For me, I have to have that hope, I guess. That now that I'm in recovery, that I'm gonna do everything to stay out of recovery. And here's another thing too. Set the right expectations. You know what I'm saying? Like really understand. Like I'm gonna do a show on Dogma 2. My next show is gonna be I think on I got it written down, but one's gonna be on dogma and the way some of these old timers think and really prompt the book. Like you got to do it this way, or you're never gonna get clean. It's like there's no one way to get into recovery. Recovery doesn't. There's no one. If there was a drug called recovery that you could give to everybody and it worked, please give it to everybody. But it's not a drug. It's a program. It's your program. It's what you do to keep yourself clean. You can follow what advice from your sponsor, from your therapist, from your mentor, from your friends, your guides, your shamans, your gurus, whatever. But ultimately, the recovery is your responsibility and it's your recovery. You know what I'm saying? This is your life that you're fighting for. And you cannot worry about. You know what I'm saying? Don't do nothing stupid. Like, don't go out and think you can, take a hit of heroin and be okay. That's kind of dumb. But I'm just saying, though, whatever you need to do for yourself to keep yourself sane while you're going through this process, do that. You know what I'm saying? If in your heart of hearts, as long as you know that you're in recovery and that you're heading the right direction, for me, I'm going to do that. And I do that all the time. When somebody tells me, I don't think that's good for your recovery, I'm like, great, it's my recovery. You know what I'm saying? It's my decision. And I'm going to live with it. You know what I mean? It's my responsibility. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's my responsibility. And so it's really just comes down to that. You know what I'm saying? It's no one way that this thing is beaten, and it's important that you figure out what's gonna work for you, and hopefully you stick to it. That's the most important thing. Whatever it is you do, you stick to it. And it's this article also saying about is relapse a sign of failure? Um, I would say for me, despite the fact that relapse is a well recognized aspect of recovery from addiction, right? It's a part of recovery. Um, Not for everybody, but it's a part of the whole, you know, the whole thing, right? Um, but does it mean you failed? It means you failed if you died. If you relapsed and you went out and you got run over by a truck and you died, you failed. I mean, you didn't fail, you didn't fall, you succumb to your disease, right? It's like everybody who has cancer, if the cancer goes into remission and then it flares back up, did they fail in their sickness? No, they just succumb to the disease. You know what I'm saying? You hopefully that you won't succumb to the disease of addiction. So hopefully you won't go out one last time and then die. So everybody's happy when in the rooms when somebody comes back in after going back out because you made it back. You know what I'm saying? Thank God you made it back and you got another chance. It's not a sign of failure. It's just a sign that you need to do something different. That's what I'm saying. You need to do something different. Your program was a little off. Tighten it up. Figure out exactly what's going to work for you. If you need to do meetings every day for 90 days, whatever, do that. You know what I mean? Because basically, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign you need to tighten something up. Something wasn't right. You weren't, the program you were working didn't work. So figure out another one. And if I ever gave up, I don't know. It's been times that I've really felt like I've given up. Um, there have been times that I just really just didn't care. I did not care at all, um, and I felt like a failure, especially in 2014, 2013, in 2013, 2014. Whew, man, it was one of the scariest times of my life. I really thought I was gonna be gone. And I'm just talking about. Look, I talk about 2013, 2014, and I talk about last year. Both of those are some of the worst times. Those are times that I was alone too. I think about it, and I think I'm saying last year I was alone. I was definitely living with people last year, but I felt like I was living alone. Um, but those are two of the worst times of my life because I was. You know what it was? I just figured it out. I was not in a serious relationship. not in a serious partnership type thing, and that's why those times were crazy. Um, yeah, that's why I feel an anchor partner works for me. When I'm going not going too far. Yeah, it works for the analogy of being in the boat of recovery. An anchor partner works, helps keep me from going too crazy. So you know, I would say that it's not a sign of failure as long as you make it back. As long as you make it back into your program. But if you die, yeah, you probably did fail. I I don't know how to put that. Can't sugarcoat that one. And I'm gonna leave it at that. That's one more thing. How do you respond positively to recovery? I mean, how do you respond positively to someone that's relapsed? I mean, you can just show them love, man. I mean, chances are, like, if I relapse, I'm gonna feel like shit. So if I relapse, I'm gonna feel. I already know. I don't think I'll ever come back to this show if I relapse. It'll be the end of the show. That'll be it. I don't know how I could come back. What would I say? It's been one day since after 150 after whatever 365 days. It's been one day since I felt the need to pick up. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So I'm gonna do my best to keep on the right track, and I hope that my last use was my last use, and that relapse will never be a part of this recovery or my recovery. But if you are suffering through a relapse right now, don't let it be a failure. Get your program tight. You know what I'm saying? Find out what's going to work for you and do that. Find out what's going to work for you. If you need to follow someone around to every meeting for a year, follow that person around to every meeting for a year. Do what you did yesterday, today. That's what works. That's what worked for me for 159 days. And hopefully, I'm gonna do exactly the same thing tomorrow. I'm gonna get up and go to work, and I'm gonna sit there and go to work. And then tomorrow's New Music Friday at the Zen. Come on by. Anyway, so let's go on to the last segment. In the last segment, I've changed the name. It's gonna be Ask a Recovering Addict. Every week I post on the day that I'm going to record, which was yesterday. I posted. I post up on Instagram a question, or I solicit a question for someone who wants to know something about addiction, who wants to ask someone who's in recovery, somebody who was an active addict, ask a question about addiction, or someone who is suffering from an addiction wants to ask a question of an addict, or wants to find out how my recovery is really working for me. I will tell you the truth. But I haven't had a question yet. I've had one question from my anchor partner Kimberly. I appreciate that. So I did find a question to ask this week from my social media feeds, and I'm going to read that question and answer it to the best of my ability. The question is as follows. So, why is life fun when your high is so boring? No, hold on. So, why is life fun when you're high and it's so boring sober? Shaking my head, or is it just me? It is not just you, but you're absolutely heading for relapse. If whoever wrote this question, if that's your outlook, you're gonna relapse. You're gonna use again. I catch myself sometimes. I caught myself on the show talking about how last year riding my car, living in the streets. I wasn't living in the streets, but I was driving for Lyft, delivering for DoorDash and Postmates. But I was just always out. Um, Sometimes 24 hours a day, 12 hours a day, just out in the car, just trying to make money and spending all my money, um, just being out uh, every day, and it was not fun. You know what I'm saying? It was a job. It was a job to get the money. It was a job to spend the money. It was just a job, And the most time, and about the only time that I actually stopped doing that time last year is when I just had physically couldn't go anymore. I had to sleep. And then once I got rested, I was right back out there because I had to make that money to keep going. And it was like, it was just like, but I had no money. I just kept making money, but had no money. Was that fun? I can't look back at that time and ever say that was fun. I can't look back at any time over the last how many years, and I can't ever say that active addiction for me was ever fun. It was mostly boring because basically I'm around a bunch of people who are addicts, and the only conversation is, uh, was that drug good? How much you got? And where can we get some more? And when it's all gone, what we gonna do now? That's it. There's no more conversation. There's nothing else. There's nothing else talked about. Nobody cares about politics. Nobody cares about the weather. Nobody's going on a cruise. Nobody's going on a trip. Nobody's getting married. Nobody's breaking up with anybody. Nobody's getting a new. There's no congratulations. There's no birthday parties. There's no nothing. Only thing there is getting and using the drug. You know what I'm saying? And that's the conversation, and that's life. If you still in the point, if you still are romanticizing that or looking at that as fun, then I must say I don't think that you're in recovery, right? Um, I was just talking earlier in the check-in how I was feeling the blahs, but this what I'm feeling now is much better than one day, 1 hour of being in active addiction. You know what I mean? I was telling Kimberly like how when I quit drinking, it's like I'm so happy not to be drinking because basically I didn't when I drink I never was able to just have a drink. I drunk to get I had drinks to get drunk. So for me it was always I'm monitoring how much I'm drinking. I'm monitoring how hot I am, how much I'm sweating. I'm monitoring can I still walk straight? How am I slurring my speech? It's just like I'm drinking. I'm totally in my head, wondering if everyone's noticing how drunk I am. So it's like I'm not enjoying it after the first three drinks. I'm like, whoa, I think I drank too much, and I'm wondering, I'm gonna get up. I can't get. I know I'm in my head about it. It's not. It wasn't enjoyable. Um, but do I miss that first drink sometimes? Yeah, yeah, of course I do. But then I know, but in reality, I'm much happier being around people just not drunk, being able to follow a conversation and not worrying about if I'm sweating too much because drinking increases the body temperature. For me, it always did. So I think when you ask yourself that question, you haven't really accepted the damage that you were doing to your life while you were having all that fun, quote unquote fun. I'm not sure if you're ready for recovery. And recovery is great. I mean, to me, it's great. Going to work is great. Not having no problems at work is great. Not missing any days at work is great. Um, uh, Being able to work towards goals is great. Being able to have money is great. Being able to save money is great. This is a lot more fun. This is a hell of a lot more fun. Like I said, than any ever one day of getting high. 1 hour, one hit. This is much better. And I appreciate these days every day, one day at a time. I think that's going to be it for this week. Um, I don't know when I'm going to be back. I'm going to travel starting on Saturday and the 4th. I won't be back till after the 4th. So I'm going to be out of town. So I'm going to try to maybe post up a throwback show from the ethical non-monogamy days. I like doing that because I like those days. I hope to get back there one day. We'll see. We'll see. But whatever it is, I'm still good. So this is it coming to that time of the show. I want to take one moment for the still suffering addicts. If you're out there and you're listening to this show, please know that you never have to use again, one day at a time. I'm in no way an expert, but I will help you. I don't know jack shit. I can't tell you the steps. I know the steps, sort of. I can't help you through the steps, but I can tell you that if you accept, do step number one. And step number one is about accepting that you have a fucking problem. Russell, with the Russell Brand saying, accept that you're fucked and you don't want to be fucked no more. Um, that's 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 gold right there. That's the beauty of recovery. Once you realize that you have a problem and that there is a solution, and you cannot you cannot use one day at a time, and life is beautiful one day at a time, you'll be in a much better place. You can hit me up, cpsjunior.com, with a question. If you want to ask a question to me or a question on the show, I will try to answer it to you. I'll respond to you, or I will answer the question on the show, whichever you prefer. For the Ask a Recovering Addict segment, or however you feel. So you guys, peace out. Black Lives Matter, and fuck the police. And with that, I am going to just say that what am I going to say? Okay, yeah. Respect yourself first. Remember, always respect yourself first, and everything else will take care of itself. Peace and namaste.